Hello and welcome everybody to Paul and Saul. It is I, Saul, and it is he, Paul.
That's
How
right,
are you?
baby. Let's go.
Yeah, man. So, a couple of big things. Bomb threat, gate crasher. Eglin had a busy day yesterday. Edge Elementary celebrates its 100th anniversary. Got a photography ordinance in Crestview that's ruffling some feathers. JetBlue is coming to VPS. And finally, we're going to talk about the food bank in light of the fact that the government shutdown has ended. But first, our very new and very exciting intro.
Two things. Somebody needs to send me a hat. I'm out of
Yeah.
hats. And secondly, watch this intro. Let's do it. Hit it.
All right, guys. Well, welcome aboard to Paul and Saul with our fancy new intro that I was able to create with a little bit of free time that I finally have, apparently. But not a lot of free time for security forces at Eglin Air Force Base. They've been some busy little bees, starting off with a bomb threat that took place yesterday afternoon. Eventually cleared, all clear given. This bomb threat took place around the flight line. That's all the buildings that were told to shelter in place. They had a shelter in place order for something like, I think, 2 hours at that point. But eventually they called that thing off after, I guess, they found that the suspicious package wasn't dangerous. And it was just kind of another highlight for me, I guess, that the government was shut down because it was really hard to get in touch with anybody super official. All of my, non-official, can't talk about this in public because it's not my job sources were like, guys, there's a bomb. I was like, okay, great. I'm gonna take your word for it, frankly, because you've been really good sources and you've never told me a lie. So I'm gonna go with it. Turns out they were exactly correct, as they typically are. And still couldn't get a hold of any PA because government shut down, man.
Yeah, thank goodness that's appears to be over and people are going back to work. And those people who are working and not getting paid will hopefully get paid. But you have
Shout out to Abby Saul.
yeah, shout out to a lot of people in our community. It's been a challenging couple of weeks and months. You have to take these things seriously, absolutely. And I'm glad this was not a authenticated threat. But man, Eglin Air Force Base was busy yesterday.
Yeah.
The second story is bigger than the first one.
Oh man, let's go into it. It is Gatecrasher. All right. So, Okaloosa County Sheriff's deputies initiated a pursuit with this gentleman right here, whose name I need to pull up because I have already forgotten it. Right now, that's the arresting. It is George Henry Harcher, a 35-year-old who I guess was involved in a hit and run with injuries, made a break for it, and was pursued by, it sounds like, 2 off-duty law enforcement officers. The way the affidavit report was talking about this whole situation is that 2 people pursued him and that the dispatch later found out that they were law enforcement officers, which tells me they weren't plugged into the system, which means to me they're off duty. Anyway, this guy made a run for it up 85, went into the Air Force Armament Museum parking lot, did a couple of, it sounds like donuts. Like they said that he was driving in a circular pattern. And then after that, decided to charge the gate of Eglin Air Force Base, which is a big frowny face move, especially when you're trying to elude law enforcement, because they have those things right there that you can see on the left side of your screen. That's right, guys. He ran right into those puppies and got out and started bowing up at law enforcement. And they didn't take kindly to that and tased him hard.
Listen. I mean, not to laugh because I know somebody got hurt in the initial accident, but like those barriers saved that guy's life.
Yeah.
Because had those not stopped him, the next was going to be deadly force that stopped him. So he had a bad day yesterday, made a ton of poor decisions, but he's alive. And those barriers are the only reason, because I think the gate guards would have shot him next.
Oh yeah, no, you get got, right? Like you get got. You get got. There it is. If you move too close, and I mean they have to use lethal force because after all, it's a military installation and it's a test and research installation. You can't just have people kind of like rolling up in there if they're not supposed to be there. So shout out to law enforcement for frankly not shooting and killing this guy. I think that it could have come. I mean, the way it was looking, the guy started moving toward him. They were able to use less than lethal force. Shout out to the gate guards for getting those puppies, those blockades up and stopping this before they had to shoot and kill somebody. So shout out to everybody except for George. George, you suck. Like
he definitely had a bad day, and kudos to you for getting this video. I don't know where you ripped that from, but
oh yeah, I should probably shout out Airman. What is it? Air Force Airman NCO, senior NCO, for bringing this video to everyone's attention yesterday. There's a couple videos floating around, but the guy over at Airman or Air Force Airman NCO, senior NCO, is the guy for this one. So yeah, man, busy day at Eglin, but good news is on the horizon because I have a wonderful singing video from Edge Elementary, which celebrated its 100th anniversary earlier this week.
Amazing. Amazing.
Take a listen.
We try our hardest every day to learn and grow in every way. We are the Tigers, and we're no fools. Fighting Tigers, just hear us roar. Cooperation is our game, we know the score. When there's a challenge, we won't hide, for we are full of Tigers.
Okay, here comes the best part.
So good.
It's amazing.
Big ups. That was awesome.
Wasn't that awesome? So yeah, Edge Elementary celebrated its 100th anniversary back in the day. Look, you will not believe how many times this building, this school site has been knocked over and then built up again. So they opened the Niceville School in 1925. It was the first school south of, how should I say this? South, really in the South County, right? So Choctaw wasn't built yet. Fort Walton Beach definitely wasn't built yet. This was it.
The Nathy family donated that land.
That's right. So the Nathys donated roughly 7 acres to the Okaloosa Board of Public Instruction. That's a fun name. And they built a school in 1926. It immediately burned to the ground, like less than a year. Like it was in the first school year, burned the sucker, totaled the building. So they had to rebuild it. And then in 1936, a hurricane came, knocked it down again. That's right. And shout out to my boy Franklin Delano Roosevelt and the Works Progress Administration for giving the Okaloosa Board of Public Instruction money to rebuild it once again. And it has stood ever since.
Yeah, it's so funny how resilience was maybe so much better in the early 1900s than it is now. Like our modern inconveniences that we get mad at, but like twice within 15 years, this thing burned to the ground.
Like they just like totaled it. It's incredible. I would like at that point, I think there's a lot of people in this town that would be like, maybe we don't teach kids. Maybe we just don't do that.
Or we move it somewhere else. Or no, that's a tremendous piece of history. That's awesome.
So it's 100 years, plenty of history in there. I got to see Mr. Robert Love, the announcer at Friday Night Football games. He was the principal there for a long period of time. I want to say 10 or 15 years, maybe even longer than that. But a lot of those principals over there at Edge tend to stay for a very, very long time. There was another principal whose name escapes me right now that was the principal for like 20 years. So they've had a lot of consistent leadership over there. It's a great campus. Just because it's 100 years old doesn't mean they haven't updated stuff. The library, they have like, full glass panels and a bunch of great technology in there. A lot of great stuff going on at Edge Elementary. And I actually got to meet Jill Watson, one of 5 teachers there who went to elementary school at Edge Elementary and now teaches at Edge Elementary.
I mean, a lot of our city leadership went through there. The Ruckle, a good chunk of the Ruckle family went through there.
Wises,
the Wise family. So, just tons of local history, and the fact that it's named after Lula J. Edge. What a freaking great name that is.
Do you know what she was before she was the superintendent of public instruction?
I have no idea.
The postmaster. That was the gig back in the day. That was like essentially the community leader before we had because you didn't have a city council until like 1938. And so the postmaster was basically the gal, right? Yeah. She was basically in charge. And then she ran for superintendent of public instruction, one that revitalized, reformed, and then like radically expanded the education system here in Okaloosa County. She's right on par with like Addie Lewis, right? Who did a lot of stuff here in the center part of the county. So shout out to her. I've lost my guy. He's gone. We got a man down. No, he's back.
I'm coming back. It was a blip. I was just going to say, hey, this whole section you could cut up, man, and put on Mid-Bay News. Like the history is important in Niceville, so I hope we do that. And the next story about photography on public property is an interesting one. So let's hit that.
So the Crestview City Council has had a couple of I want to say touchy things that people have kind of pushed back on. One of them is this photography ordinance that they eventually at this city council meeting this week decided to table. It also happened to be the fact that the clerk, which is one of the higher non-elected positions at the city, resigned at the same meeting. So a lot going on over in Crestview right now. But the residents basically came out to denounce this photography ordinance. The proposed ordinance basically was built based off of something like a filming sort of thing. So, like Georgia gives a bunch of tax credits to film. So they'll film their Toronto, stuff like that. So this was the idea, is they were going to like formalize this and get the city of Crestview is going to get its cut of, creative related economic activity. But basically a lot of people came in and said, hey, this is going to have a lot of unintended consequences for people that are, just hardworking people trying to get their thing done. They were worried, essentially, the city of Crestview was trying to get its chunk of change off of like youth sports photography that was taking place around the hub city, mostly on, public ball fields, things like that. But a lot of people came in, and I count myself as somebody that is concerned about this. The ordinance was kind of broad and in theory could have applied to, the practice of journalism, which I'd argue to you is a First Amendment violation on the counts of both free speech and also on the count of a free press. So I'm okay with the fact that they tabled it, but boy, this makes me nervous. I don't like overly broad.
Well, I think here's the tack that maybe we should take, is that when people like to say a municipality's leadership doesn't listen to them and just does whatever they want, this is an exact example of the opposite, right? Like something came out, people were concerned about it. At least the leadership at Crestview has tabled it and they're going to think about it. And they didn't just push forward with it, because I think the concerns were genuine and the concerns came from the public and the leadership listened. So I think that's good.
So it's tabled for now. We'll see if they continue to bring it back up. Last thing I'll note, that this was a really interesting fact. There are 200 professional photographers in the city of Crestview. And so many of them came out to speak against this, but that seems like a lot, but maybe not. There's plenty of people that, live in Crestview that go and take pictures of people on the beach in Destin, like the whole, maternity or engagement shoot, stuff like that live in Crestview. So it makes a lot of sense. Creatives, we always be looking for affordable places to live, my guy. And so Crestview is a great place for that. And I think that's part of the reason that Crestview is going to be such a vibrant place, especially the next 10 years, is there's a lot of creative people that want to be there and make the city even better than it already is. And so despite this hiccup, I am still very, in terms of buy, hold, sell, I'm very much a buy Crestview stock guy. I think that this is not great. I don't love that this came up, but like you said, citizens came and said, hey, I don't like this. This is sketchy. So
there's lots of great things going on in Crestview. The bypass is coming. You've got a downtown that is continuing to thrive and grow. And so, I'm bullish on Crestview too, and how they're running things. And that's good. And things for the county are headed in the right direction, partly because we have such strong half-cent sales tax that it's paying for a lot of things. Which leads to the next story, bro. More people in March coming to our area.
That's right. JetBlue has announced service to and from JFK Airport in New York City, and then to Boston Logan, I believe, as well.
The Yankees are coming.
The Yankees done come, boy, and we got to stop them. Dadgummit, they're coming for us, Paul.
They pay for our roads, though, and our schools.
So, as long as they're paying for our roads, they can come.
Hey, this just gives us more options too. We get to go to Boston and New York and use those flights as well. So let's think about it that way.
Do you know that unlike the VeggieTales vegetables, I've never been to Boston in the fall?
I have never been to Boston either. I would like to do that, but I've been to New York a couple of times, and so I've checked that box, and I wouldn't prefer to go back. But I mean, this is big for our area, right? Allegiant has made like such a big investment at VPS. We already know American and Delta are there, so to have JetBlue come in, I think is a good thing to give us more options. And I really do think over the next 10, 15 years, we're just going to continue to see expansion at VPS.
Yeah, I think it's at one point VPS was the fastest growing airport in America. Not certain if they've held on to that title for 8 years in a row, but it still seems like you said to be rapidly growing. I remember back in the day, 10 years ago when we first got here, or when I first got here, they had a United flight to Houston, a American flight to Dallas, and a Delta flight to the ATL Shorty, and that was it.
Well,
It was,
probably a flight to DC too, but
oh yeah, you know what? You're right. American had a DC flight as well. You're
Yeah.
right. That's on me for not remembering that. And then they had a one of those micro carriers that flew a prop plane from here to New Orleans, which
Yep.
just drive that. That's one man's opinion. Anyway, last story on our docket has to do with the food bank. Food banks are reporting that, yeah, you know what, this whole government shutdown thing was not great. And so a lot of people were starting to use food banks. One food bank here, Sharing and Caring, said that they had experienced something like a 40% increase in the number of people that needed food. And they're already a shoestring budget kind of operation. They don't waste a whole lot of money on stuff. They buy what they need and they get what they need. And so is a tough look for, our area for a while, but with this government shutdown, coming to an end, it sounds like a lot of workers are going to get paid pretty rapidly. Maybe even this Friday is my understanding. Is there's going to be some people that get a quick turnaround.
Yeah, I mean, listen, government shutdown is not great. It affects our area, affects a lot of places in the country. People who actually make a really, really good income suddenly have it taken away, and they're not necessarily prepared. I hope that this has some people to consider being better with their finances and building emergency funds, picking up a Dave Ramsey book or something. But stress was definitely high during this time period. I also know there were some, lower income government folks who struggled significantly as well and may not have had the funds to have an emergency fund. But that's exactly what community is about. And I think the food banks did an excellent job, and people did a great job of helping the community. And I think had it gone another month or two, you would have seen even more community involvement. So if we can take one positive thing from the shutdown is that the community of Niceville came together, and the surrounding areas too. And if this ever happens again, end of January, maybe, maybe we'll all be a little more prepared.
Yeah. Well, before we leave today, I got to answer some questions, guys. First one is Hunter, who says you don't like small planes, Christopher. It's not that I don't like small planes. It's that I don't like empty flights to New Orleans. I don't. Here's the deal. It was called Glow Airlines, GLO. And the Glow Airlines folks thought, hey, you know what we could do is fly Saabs with 38 seats, but only fill like 10 of them. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there was those flights out of Pensacola that used to go to Orlando and Tampa or whatever, the pink planes.
That makes more sense because it's not, like New Orleans is like a straight shot on I-10, whereas Tampa is like you got the turn in there, right?
Yeah.
And so, you take
I get it. I flew it once though, and it was half empty.
That's what I'm saying. And so like the Tampa one makes a lot more sense to me. That's just one man's opinion though. And then Colin, who is standing right over there, said Boston in the fall is great. I wouldn't know, but I would like to assume. Colin says it's pretty dope. He confirms, we have confirmation that Boston in the fall is pretty dope. And with that, I don't know, man. I think you should tell everybody what to do here in Niceville, and then I will play the intro/outro, and then we will go away.
Yeah, we'll finish up for the day. Please like and subscribe. Make sure that you donate to Midbay News/donate. Help local news and help us continue to bring this product to you. And as always, be nice, Niceville. God bless.